Aloha and welcome to this special Hawaii News Now digital report. I'm Dylan Ancheta in the H&N Digital Center. We want to take you live to Maui, where Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is there with local community leaders. Let's take you there and listen in.
That has provided the opportunity for the County of Maui to be awarded several significant infrastructure-related grants. Because of these laws, we're about to secure $45 million for critical improvements to realigning Honoapi'ilani Highway, the road all of you took coming out here today. These improvements will span over a 5-mile stretch from Olowalu to Ukumehame and include moving much of the highway out of the current sea wash and future sea level rise zones. And they'll also protect the continuity of the West Maui route that connects our communities and supports access to West Maui. We're also grateful for the $25 million we were awarded for the Waiale Road extension, which will help extend the road southward to Honoapi'ilani to improve traffic flow and also support additional housing and provide an alternative route between Wailuku and Kahului. We're also pleased to have received grant funding the amount of $25 million for the North-South Collector Road in Kihei and $13 million for Keawe Street safety improvements. Today we are joined by our federal partners earlier today in touring our Lahaina's town and the areas that have been impacted by the fires, but also connecting them to the beautiful people and places that make Lahaina special. We look forward to continued conversations and efforts to support the needs of our wildfire recovery and appreciate their continued support. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our next guest, Assistant Secretary Michael Connor of the United States Army Corps of Engineers.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It's an honor to be here. Aloha. It's an honor to be here as the Federal Warm-Up Act, and I'm very pleased that I am following the mayor. I will be followed by the State DOT Director. It's all about partnership at all levels of government. And so Secretary Buttigieg, the wonderful Hawaiian federal delegation, it's a whole of government approach that we're here representing today, and very much appreciate this opportunity. We're working together. I can't say enough about the Army Corps of Engineers in our role and the way we've been accepted by the community to come in and play an important role, which I want to talk about a little bit more. But we have Colonel Jess Curry, who's been leading our emergency response efforts as commander. We've got General Gibbs, the Pacific Ocean Division commander, Lieutenant Colonel Peavy, who is also here making sure we continue to serve Hawaii District in its entirety while we conduct emergency operations. And I don't see him, but we have Colonel Eric Swenson, who will be coming in as the new commander in charge of the emergency operations. I have 3 quick thoughts that I want to share with you as we've toured today and understood the magnitude of the challenge that we're facing. First, obviously sobered and humbled by what we've seen today, but it's our responsibility as leaders to come and witness the devastation, to better understand the challenges that we have in the immediacy of rebuilding and restoring, and then to also think about the risks not only faced by Lahaina and Maui, but other communities from similar situated circumstances, because our ultimate goal is to build resilience. That's what President Biden has set us on a path to understand risk, build resilience, and all of the witnessing of the devastation today and understanding is part of that whole effort. Second thought, I am very much appreciative of what I've witnessed today with respect to the partnerships that I just alluded to in our role. I saw a sign coming in to Lahaina earlier today. It said, "Respect the locals." And I think that's been key from the get-go. I've been living this from afar for 6 months, understanding and interacting with our folks on the ground and trying to support the role we're playing in our disaster response mission that we play in the Army Corps of Engineers. We've come together. I think we've adhered to that notion of respecting the locals, of listening to the community, respecting the culture that's so important here, and to move forward in understanding the connectedness of land and water as we move forward with the rebuilding process. So we've been educated in that process, and we need to be educated to better serve all of you in our disaster response mission that we carry out here. The Corps has 9 missions overall, but the disaster response effort that we play in sending our best and brightest immediately to the point where they're needed demonstrate it is the priority mission that we have at the Army Corps of Engineers. Lastly, on this point of appreciation, I just want to say as part of the education process, I was driving around yesterday and I've been exposed to a new word, which I'm sure I will butcher, but ahapua'a. That is our understanding of the connectedness here between land, water, from the mountains to the ocean. And in conducting our operations, we have to respect that concept that's so important here in Hawaii. Last point I'll make is motivation. Coming here, seeing all the work that's been done and how it's been pulled together, and understanding that even as the Army Corps of Engineers is very mission-oriented, we want to carry this out. We want to focus on that mission. The team here needs support, and that's what our leaders, we're responsible for providing that support, making sure the resources are right, to understand not only what we need to do to build the foundation for rebuilding the community, but as I mentioned, we have 9 missions. We want to be here not just to help rebuild, but we want to restore and protect this community, and we look forward to being a resource for Lahaina, for Maui, for Hawaii in general as we move forward. And with that, let me say thank you again for the opportunity. I will now, local, federal, back to the state, the DOT Director, Ed Sniffen, our partner in so many endeavors. Ed.
Hello all, thanks so much. I apologize if I'm a little bit distracted. The wheel keeps jumping, like 3 times back there. You don't see it, but it's amazing. I really appreciate you all coming out today. The partnership that was talked about was absolutely amazing. And not just from getting the work done. Going through the discussions with FEMA and with the Corps of Engineers and seeing the cultural sensitivity that the mission is being accomplished in, absolutely mind-blowing. So really appreciate all the work that our federal partners are doing and the leadership that the mayor is showing through all of this. Definitely want to thank Secretary Pete for coming down. I shared a conversation that I had with him when I was in DC. We were meeting up and I was telling him, you know, we've not had a seated secretary in Hawaii since Norm Mineta, I believe, in 2005. So you got to come down and see the state and see the needs that we have here. And Polly Trottenberg jumped in front and said, hey, Ed, you got to understand here. It's really difficult from the optics perspective for a secretary to come down to Hawaii. So I'll take one for the team and I'll come down to Hawaii instead. But really appreciate Secretary Pete coming down here to see the needs that we have, to see the partnerships that we have here, to understand how we're using the infrastructure money that Bill gave us, that 20% increase in formula funds immediately that we got, and the 50 billion discretionary funds that we can compete for, how we're using it to ensure that we hit all the states and the counties' goals here. We're looking at housing and homelessness. We're looking at education and energy security and food security. And we're looking at economy, all through infrastructure. Because as everybody knows here, if you want the most impact in your state, in your area, work for the DOT. Transportation touches everything, and everything touches transportation. Really appreciate you, Pete. And Mindy, please. Mindy is one of our young engineers. She's going to be the next department director of transportation. She made this lay for you, Secretary. Really appreciate you coming down and seeing our needs. Maui County has been extremely competitive in all of the process, and the mayor kind of outlined some of the grants that they've received, and they're pushing for more as well. So you're going to see a lot more improvements in the area, not just for Lahaina, but for Maui in general, because of the work that your local government is doing in partnership with the state and the county. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. It's my pleasure to introduce Representative Joe Tokuda.
No? That's okay. I think he was distracted by the whales again. It's all glad I wasn't the only one. But mahalo to Secretary Buttigieg, Ambassador Tai, who was with us earlier today, and Assistant Secretary Connors. Great on the pronunciation, ahapua'a, from the land to the sea. I'm glad you're taking that one back. I'd have another one to add. Kuleana, responsibility. We have a shared responsibility, and I think you saw that today in all the partners you met, the community you met, to make sure that we not just rebuild Lahaina, we re-envision what the future could be. You know, it's very distracting for me to be here as well, not for the whales, but the last time, and I'm looking out in the audience, the last time many of us were here was for the Ho'olu Lahaina Unity March. We literally took to the pavement and we walked, whether you're from Lahaina, whether you're from across the state. We had people from across the nation and the country holding flags in unity, walking literally 4+ miles to this very spot to congregate, because we, like you heard Uncle Archie talk about today, we understood that Lahaina, this special place that we're in, this is the Pico of Hawaii. This is our center. And you could see that by just the people coming together, marching to this place, and then looking out to the oceans and seeing the canoes coming in, and all of them bringing ho'okupu and giving makana and offering, doing protocols. It was as if Lahaina was calling to us to come to this Pico, to make sure that we understood the value and the opportunity in this moment that we have. You've heard a lot about the billions, literally, of dollars that we will be bringing into the state, into Lahaina's revitalization in the years, in the generations to come. The hard work being done by all of our federal, our state, our county, our nonprofit and local partners. That is absolutely critical. But most importantly, it's incumbent on us to recognize the connection that we have to each other. And Secretary, you've seen just coming here. You came here by plane. You drove many miles from the airport to get here to Lahaina. And we've talked to you about what this ocean truly means to us as an ability to connect us as a community. Lanai to my front, Molokai to my right. This is, again, the Pico. And if it's not for infrastructure, if it's not for transportation to give us hope that we can be connected, we can be stronger together, then we are lost. So please understand, Secretary, the important role you play to so many here in making sure that we not, again, just rebuild Lahaina, we re-envision a future where we all can be connected. And Maui County, as Hawaii, as an island community, and as an island state, infrastructure, that investment in transportation. Transportation gives our people hope that they can be connected. You play such a vital role in our future here. So mahalo, I'm gonna keep this short. For coming here today, we invite you back time and time again, but most importantly, thank you for giving us hope by investing in the transportation necessary for us to connect to loved ones, to connect to healthcare, business, education, so much. But again, to connect together back in these places, these centers, so we can rebuild our future together. Mahalo. And at this time, it's my privilege to introduce Senator Hirono.
Aloha, everybody. Are we saving you two guys for last or something? Okay, well, one thing, I think the one thing that we all should take, and all of you from members of the press should take from today, as well as all the other times that we have had people come to experience for themselves what has happened to Maui, is the continuity of effort by all of us at all levels of government. We have the mayor, we have I know that the governor has been here many times, the president and the first lady came, and here we are. It's continuity of effort, commitment from all of us for the kuleana that is Lahaina and Maui, reflecting, by the way, the recovery must reflect the values of the people here, and we must listen to their voices. When the colonel did the briefing for our group in the beginning, he said that he's from the mainland and he's going to go back to the Pentagon. He said he had never been involved in a project or in an event like this, in that there are cultural sensitivities that are observed in the rebuilding that he's never experienced. There are literally dozens of cultural monitors who are involved in the recovery process. That makes Hawaii so unique, not just this beautiful scenery. I still haven't seen the whale, by the way. Okay, anyway, we're in this together, everybody. And I'm really glad that our entire congressional delegation, we are going to continue to work very, very hard to make sure that the resources continue to come to Maui to make sure that the rebuilding happens, as I said, in a way that reflects our values and listens to the voices of the people here. I thank Secretary Buttigieg for being here. We have had what I would call the family federal agencies who are here very shortly after the wildfire. Over 1,000 federal employees have been here. Many are still here because they have a commitment to be a part of our recovery. So mahalo nui loa, we're going to keeping on. I'm not sure whether, is it you, Brian? Okay. I don't know, they don't tell me anything, you know? Okay, so we're gonna next hear from my partner, Brian Schatz.
Aloha, everybody. Thank you to all of the staffers who put together this incredible, productive day. I have a couple of thoughts. I mean, the first thing is, you know, I'm standing next to the secretary, and I see the chickens running by, and I see the whales breaching, and I think, okay, he got his Maui moment. A couple of thoughts, a couple of encouraging pieces of information that I got this morning. That is, you know, I'm not breaking news, but just wanted to emphasize two positive things, and then one thing that we really need to work on together. The first is that the Army Corps really is on track for clearing and making available for re-inhabiting all of the residential structures on time. And anybody who's ever been involved in any government or non-government project in the state of Hawaii, not just the county of Maui, but the state of Hawaii, that requires permits, that requires construction, that is an enormous achievement. We are not there yet, but they are certainly on track to do that. And importantly, those people whose homes are cleared for reentry can reenter right away. So it's just simply that the last homes will be cleared by around this time next year. So I found that to be a really encouraging thing, and you know, congratulations to the Army Corps and their subcontractors and the many Maui workers that are making that happen. The second is that I've never heard of anything getting built in 95 days. But to get a school built in 95 days so that on April 1, these kids can go back onto campus is something worth really celebrating and being appreciative of. And, you know, it's a little hard to be so laudatory of all the good work that's going on when so many people are still suffering, right? That's the challenge, is that this could turn into a bunch of politicians congratulating each other and the people who work for those politicians, and yet, right, and yet, thousands and thousands of people are still having to move their life's belongings in bags and buckets, not sure what's going to happen next. And so the last thing that I think we all need a laser focus on, there are lots of long lead time items. I'm really excited about the cultural corridor. There are lots of long lead time items about how to build back better. But we still have suffering to alleviate. And the best way we can alleviate that suffering is to build housing now, and to not be precious about it, and not be too specific about it, and not to land exactly on the number of projected need, but to know that we are still in an emergency situation and people are still living in untenable housing. It is humane. Everybody has done miraculous work just to get a roof over all these people's heads, but we need to start breaking some ground, and in many cases bring some houses off of shipping containers and just drop them onto a lot. And finally, I'm really excited about the Honoapi'ilani highway realignment, because from a color of money standpoint, this thing was super complicated. Like, there were, I don't know, a raise grant and an earmark and county money and federal highway money, and I'm probably missing 4 or 5 other like buckets of money. But to cobble all of that together and to do something that is really important for safety, really important for convenience, really important for the environment, and really smart in the long term fiscally, and state, county, federal. It's pretty extraordinary to get this thing done. This is the kind of climate adaptation that I think President Biden has been contemplating and Secretary Buttigieg has been trying to push forward on. So it's not done yet, but it's a real triumph that we are as far along as we are in the EIS process and the construction process, and it just shows what we can all accomplish if the goals are aligned and if we all behave as if we are part of that same community. We are really good at a bunch of things, but one of the things I think we are best at is crossing all the boundaries, state, federal, county, and part of it is just that we all know each other, right? I mean, I was reminded of that just getting on the airplane, and it was very difficult for any of us to even get past row 11 or row 12. Everyone's saying hello to everybody, and then the Hawaiian Air folks are like, can you guys hurry up so we can go? And that is what's great about this place, not just because it makes it a better place to live as a human, but also because we can get stuff done if we align. And I am just so pleased because I've known the Secretary for a while, just because of my committee jurisdiction and because I've been a fan for a while, to welcome him into this family, to integrate the work that his excellent department does into the great work that's already been done. And so I'm really personally very proud and very privileged to introduce my friend, our friend, a friend of Maui, the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg.
Thanks very much, Senator. Thank you for the chance to join you. I appreciate the kind introduction. Senator Schatz really has become a friend. He's an extraordinary leader, somebody who has done so much to help shape this bipartisan infrastructure law that even makes it possible for us to have this good news, and is a partner in delivering the kind of change and transportation that we need. And I would be saying that even if he wasn't in charge of the committee that controls all of the money that goes to my department. Just for the record, you have great leadership and a great delegation here. Likewise, Senator Hirono, who has long been encouraging me to come to Hawaii. I was always looking forward to taking that invitation up, but it's really great to be able to do it. She is passionate about many things that we care about at the DOT, from improving the passenger airline experience to making sure that we support, encourage, and recruit more women to get into engineering and transportation careers, and has likewise been a great partner in delivering. And Representative Takuda, you were arriving in the House of Representatives at just the right time. I don't know if it feels that way from the inside, but we are glad that you're joining and have come to Congress and have immediately established yourself as such an effective voice for the people of Hawaii. We had a really excellent briefing and tour this morning, very informative. And so I want to thank all of our federal partners who are here, the Army Corps of Engineers, represented by Assistant Secretary Connor. You all have a lot to be proud of. The brief from Colonel Curry and the work that all of the members of the Army Corps are doing here really is a credit to that institution. And that's an institution we work with often and in so many ways. Mayor Bisson, thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you for your leadership. We had a terrific discussion with the Lahaina Advisory Committee that the mayor put together, getting a wide range of viewpoints from around the community. I know the job of mayor has only gotten more difficult and more demanding since I had the title of mayor, and I admire it greatly. Although I will say it would have been nice back when I was mayor to have $1 trillion infrastructure bill coming from the President of the United States, so hopefully that at least is a wind at your back. And to Director Sniffen and the whole team at the Hawaii DOT, we know we're keeping you busy. Thank you for everything you're doing to deliver on all of these projects. Where do you get to there? Certainly true. I have never given or been at a press conference where there were whales breaching in the background and chickens roaming the ground, and where I couldn't tell if a couple of people on surfboards were listening to us or just enjoying the day. Like every visitor to Hawaii, every visitor to Maui, every visitor to Lahaina, I am moved by the extraordinary beauty of this place. But also, of course, like every visitor to this place since August, I am moved by the unbelievable and shocking destruction that we saw, that this wildfire, these fires wrought, and all of the pain that has brought with it. And yet, amid all that, I also feel the extraordinary sense of community and support for one another that is characteristic of Lahaina and is something that I deeply admire. We are a very long way from home, from where I call home. I'm pretty sure there's snow on the ground at my house near the 45th parallel in Michigan today. But I do feel a certain relationship between what I'm told is called the aloha spirit here and what back home we call Midwest nice. And it's made me feel very at home. And also in that collective thoughtfulness and spirit of taking care of each other, you can see how that came into action right away with the disaster that struck this community and the way people looked after each other. I think we see it in the extraordinary percentage of the people of this state who serve in the armed forces, and the fact that this state has the highest labor union membership in the country. And when we talk today about the future of transportation on Maui, we do it with the understanding that that sense of collective responsibility, of collective fate, and of shared opportunity gives us a great deal of confidence in the future that you all are building here. And it's one that the President and the Biden-Harris administration are deeply committed to being your partner in, even with eyes wide open about the scale of work underway and the challenges faced here. Climate change is already harming people and infrastructure in every part of the United States, but what Maui has faced is, of course, unique. The fire in Lahaina was a type of all-encompassing terror that is hard to imagine and hard to fathom for those who were not here that day. It took 101 lives, displaced thousands, and left a lifelong impact on many more who lost loved ones and were displaced. It was the deadliest wildfire to strike any American community in more than a century. And then, just a few miles away, a very different threat is on display, another one that you see in different forms in different places, but that is shared across different communities, which is water in the wrong places. Honoapi'ilani Highway faces increasing erosion, sea level rise, and swells that overtop the road now dozens of times per year. It can cause hours of traffic delays each time on the only thoroughfare connecting West Maui with the rest of the island. It's more than an inconvenience. It keeps people from getting to work, stops people from reaching the hospital quickly, it keeps vital goods from being moved across the island, and it blocks off the road for emergency responders or evacuations. These challenges are profound, but so are the means to confront them together. I came here because transportation in Maui is unique and vital to life here, so I thought it was important to see it firsthand, and because I wanted to make sure I could offer an update on what the federal government is doing to be a good partner in building that future of transportation on this island. First, for Lahaina, our administration recognizes how much work remains, and I carry the message from President Biden that his whole government will be here with you for as long as it takes. Represented by a fellow cabinet member, Ambassador Tai, being here, by the EPA, the Army Corps, FEMA, and all of our partners who are on the ground. And while much of that work is outside of the transportation space, I do want to report on the work that DOT has been doing alongside those federal, state, and local partners. Our department has assisted on the safe transportation of hazardous materials, addressing the school bus driver shortage, rebuilding the damaged ferry terminal, adding bus stops and routes, technical assistance on building temporary housing for displaced residents on a highway right-of-way, and more steps. And I want to thank our own Federal Highways team and US DOT team for that work. It's just the start of what is needed, but it's a meaningful start. We also heard loud and clear when communities in Maui have said that people don't just want everything put back the way it was, but want to take this moment to design for the future. And I want to touch on a few examples of that. We were thrilled to be awarding funds to help the county bring its vision to life for a new Kiawe Street in Lahaina with crosswalk improvements, roundabouts, buffered bicycle lanes, and for an extension of the Liloa Drive and its shared use path in Kihei, so that both areas will be safer for people to drive, to walk, and to bike. Then last week we announced funding to Kahului Airport to help complete the new TSA screening area, enabling passengers to get through security and onboard that plane for all of those hellos a little more quickly and more comfortably. Now, one of the things I'm most excited about is the work that we are doing together on the future of the Honoapi'ilani Highway that's been mentioned by many of the other speakers today. We were proud to award funding to help relocate a portion of the highway farther away from the coastline to make it more resilient against climate change and to keep this critical connection open. There's a lot underway, and I hope you can picture what this transportation system that is more resilient, more connected, and more sustainable for the future is going to look like and feel like, because we share this vision of walking, biking, driving to where you need to be more safely with less traffic and less pollution on Keawe Street and Liloa Drive, or on I had it right the last couple times, Honoapi'ilani Highway, I hope, and more. And we can even envision the peace of mind that will come from knowing that families can get to where they need to be without the road being washed out or without being stuck somewhere, whether it's in a vehicle or in line at the airport when your flight is getting ready to board. We believe in this better future, and we believe in the partnership that will make it possible for us to deliver it. And there's one more thing that I hope you can picture that hopefully you're already seeing, and that's jobs. Good union jobs that you can raise a family on. And that's another way where I see another overlap between what's going on here in my Midwestern home. President Biden's policies have brought a whole new wave of good infrastructure jobs, making it so that more people with and without college degrees, can stay and work and thrive in the communities where they grew up, whether it's a place like South Bend, Indiana, Traverse City, Michigan, or Maui. And I again want to thank and recognize Senators Schatz and Hirono for being such leaders in Congress, helping to craft that infrastructure law. Because while we are all talking about what it delivered, almost as if there could never be any other way, the truth is it was far from guaranteed that that would pass. The legislation that's funding so much of this work was declared dead on arrival many times before we actually got it done. Just one last thought I want to share, which is that the fact that a place like Lahaina and a place like Northern Michigan and a place like Washington, D.C. all belong to the same country is a striking reminder of what we have in common as Americans, even across extraordinary distances. And it points to the importance of shared vision, shared work, and shared action. So I want you to know that we are committed to be here for the long term through all of that shared action, to deliver results and to make sure that transportation here meets its potential to make everyone better off. Thank you again for the warm welcome, the chance to be here, and the phenomenal work that's taking place on the ground. Thanks very much. I believe we have time for some questions from reporters. My colleague Alexander will quarterback the Q&A.
We'll start here with Dan.
Hello.
Dan the Gossip.
Go ahead.
Dan the Gossip from Behind the Story. Can you elaborate on some of the conversations you had today, maybe from Mayor's Advisory Council that are likely to stick with you for a while if you have the election?
Yeah, for sure. You know, what I found and what reminds me of what I appreciate about mayors is a commitment to balance the urgency of getting things done and making swift decisions with the importance of taking time to gather input from people whose voices need to be heard. I met a diverse array of people who were impacted in different ways in their homes, their families, their businesses by what happened here, and who I understand never hesitate to let the mayor know, good, bad, or indifferent, what the people that they represent and the people they speak to think of the different ideas that are being brought forward. And I can only imagine the complications, the challenges, the opportunities, but also the tension that come with balancing the desire to restore what was lost and the awareness that new things can be built that may look a little bit different than how things looked a year ago. What I heard were heartbreaking stories about how many family members had been lost, what it is like to be in the temporary housing that has been arranged, but also a sense of optimism about the future. And I'm especially moved to know the work that's going on at the school and the urgency that was placed on making sure that those students and their teachers could get back to work. Every mayor is a walking symbol of what a very diverse community has in common. And I see that reflected not just in the mayor's work, but in the group that he surrounded himself with.
Do we have any other questions?
Aloha, Secretary. This is Matt, Big Short News. Just curious, when the rebuilding of Lahaina began, did you notice any sort of need for more major roadways to go in and out? We saw the emergency, how cars were just packed trying to get out. People were not able to make it out.
Yeah.
How important is it to take that into consideration when it comes time for the rebuilding process?
Yeah, one consistent theme I heard both from your delegation and from community members was how important transportation is, of course, for daily life, but also for those evacuation scenarios. And while we certainly hope nothing remotely like the wildfire will strike this community again, it's not the only kind of scenario which requires people being able to have swift and sometimes sudden access to being able to get in and out. Part of that, of course, is the importance of the Honoapi'ilani Highway itself. But we also saw other roads here that are federally managed or state managed, but federal roads. And it's one of the reasons why, as part of the infrastructure plan, we have a whole new source of funds called Protect, which is specific. It's the first time we've ever had funds that are specifically about resilience. And there are many different forms that can take, even seismic resilience. But part of it is making sure that there are adequate means and adequate alternatives to get in and out. And that's one of the many colors of money that Senator Schatz was talking about that is even contributing to this specific project. I'm sure it won't be the last time that we hear from Maui about opportunities to fund more resources that matter more than ever in the context of the climate crisis. One thing we've worked on a lot is the promotion of what are called complete streets. The idea of making sure that a streetscape is one that serves not only vehicles, but pedestrians, bicycles, wheelchairs. I would add small business because the configuration and the flow of the street can really make or break the businesses that live along it. I would also emphasize that while the recreational opportunities here are extraordinary, it's not only about recreation, but also safety. And this is why I really want to emphasize everywhere I go that good pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure is not ornamental, it is fundamental. Because it is an important part of how we can reverse the crisis of rising roadway deaths in this country. We've finally seen the first indications several quarters in a row of that number going back down, but it's still far higher than it should be. And it's largely driven by crashes that involve bicycle and pedestrian, cyclists and pedestrians. So, with the enormous challenge that this community is confronted with, come opportunities to reimagine roadways, streetscapes. We won't prescribe any of that from Washington. One thing, every one of the 40,000 projects and counting funded by the bipartisan infrastructure law has in common is not one of them was something that we thought of at the US DOT headquarters. The ideas shouldn't come from Washington, but more of the funding should. So I trust that communities like the communities in Maui will approach us with projects, and whether it's through our Safe Streets for All program, our RAISE program, or the formula money that Director Smith and his colleagues seek to make the best possible use of, that those federal dollars will go in part toward that kind of infrastructure improvement. Well, certainly, the existing structure of the environmental impact statement, which is a very complex, thoroughgoing process, is designed to capture all kinds of input and ideas. That structure hasn't changed, but it's certainly been given new urgency by the knowledge of what happened here and how that may shape people's vision for everything from the importance of evacuation routes to maybe an updated vision on the future of the community. So in some ways, nothing about this is fortunate, but it is timely in a way that the environmental impact study process is still open for a little bit longer in a way that can allow those ideas to come in. And again, our job isn't to think up those ideas, it's to make sure that they're heard and that there's a good, healthy community process that takes those on board. Having said that, I certainly would expect that there will be even more attention to the importance of evacuation and perhaps new visions for the way the streetscapes work in this community that can and should be taken on board in the final design. All right, thank you. Or mahalo, I should say. Thank you very much.